What up, dogs? I'm Underdog, and I wanted to talk about another light weapon. So today's video is gonna be about Mollets, Molot Builds. What I'm gonna be excited to run Mollets on. I actually am gonna be running Mollets here in a minute after I'm done with my current pin build. I'm trying to upgrade right now. About halfway done with this. Won't be too long until I put a little pilot on it, and then I'll be using Mollets. All right, so. Hold on, sorry, I don't want to click off that. But and store. All right, so obviously the Molot is a medium range or kind of a decent range. It's got 800 meters, I'm pretty sure. So it's a support weapon, or support damage weapon. It's definitely not something you can really brawl with, so you have to be fairly careful what you do with it. It's not too bad of a weapon anymore. I mean, too bad of a weapon. It's technically still outdated. You won't see it get a lot of play anymore, especially the lighter version of it. But obviously, I'm still gonna play it because that's what I do. And the figure out which ones I'm gonna be more excited to run with. I would say that the first one I'm probably gonna be fairly excited to run it on is the Patent. It's because you do have 4. And you'll be able to do at least a decent amount of support damage. Might want to put some speed skills, or somehow get some speed on this Patent, so it could be a little bit faster to be able to try to get behind cover after you have to reload. I'm not really sure what is the reload on these Mollets. Hold on, let me check. Let me just check real quick because I don't remember what the reload is on a Mollet. I can stop clicking off things. It's been a while since I've checked. Where's Mods? Alright. 10-second reload. The same as a Punisher, so yeah, you're definitely going to need to be able to use ample amount of cover if you want to get the best use out of these. But yeah, Patent is good just because you have the 4, so it wouldn't be very powerful, but I feel it would be still fairly fun. I would say the next one I would be excited about would be the Jesse. Same reason for the Punishers, really, just because you do have that quick change to the next clip. So by the time you finish emptying out one, you'll be able to switch to the next one. I think if you supercharge that, it'd probably be fairly fun. I don't know if it'd be the best. It's not going to perform in Champions League. It's not going to kick it's not going to kick OP meta gears, but it's still been I'd say it'd still be pretty fun. Jesse is a little bit squishy, so you definitely want to try to get use an ample amount of cover in order to get the best use out of that. I want to go ahead and grab my water, have that on hand. All right, so the next one after that, that I would definitely be fairly excited to run it on would be the Vityas, because you could throw 2 Mollets and then a Tempest on there to get the same weapon type on there. And I think if you put a decent amount of damage on there, then it might be fairly fun. It might, like, the Vityas is kind of squishy nowadays, but I still think it'd be fairly fun. The next would be Natasha. You can throw 1 more Tempest on that, and if you make it just a little bit healy, maybe, or you could put some healings. I don't know if you should put more focus on being tankier or putting more damage on it. Probably be as you guys did, go ahead and make it tanky. That way your Punishers or your Mollets have ample time to be able to be effective. I would say Butch, simply because you can just run 4 on them. I would say Butch simply because you can run 4 of them and then run to the next salvo, so that might be decent. That's not really one I was gonna be too excited to run on, just because it is kind of squishy, and the weapon you'd be using, the Tempest. Oh wait, hold on. I just realized. Never mind. That's not on the list specifically because it has heavy. That's not got Mollets on it. I wasn't even supposed to mention that. Okay, sorry. So next would be the Rhino. Kind of you know, definitely outdated robot. Squishy to rockets a lot. Can't really perform well nowadays anymore, but I still think it'd be decent. So um, you could maybe get away with using that on a Rhino, say at mid range, maybe. Um, no telling, or I think it'd be fun at least. You could run. Next would be you could run them on Leos, you know, with a Tempest, make that decent, decently tanky, maybe not tanky, but you know, survival. Make it survival just a little longer. Then yeah, you can get some decent damage out of it. Supercharging that on a supercharging Molots on a Leo. The hover comes to mind somewhat. I mean, they can even come pre-installed on there, but at the same time, I have said before that the hover is kind of a squishy robot, and you're kind of just a target, really. So you would want to be very careful trying to use Molots on that. Same goes for the Out King, pretty much same reasoning. You don't really get you don't get any resistance when you see Out King's ability, so you want to be, you know, fairly careful. If you're running it in lower leagues, it might be decent, but like even I'm in Gold League right now, and I don't see anybody running them barely. Plus, even if they did run them, you got all these Mars and Seraphs and stuff that are going to blow that out of the air. So nowadays, Out King is just too squishy. The fact that it costs 4,000 gold, despite being so weak in now's game's meta, is kind of a bummer. Not that it matters anyway, because gold's not really used for a whole lot much anyway, since the pilot rework. Next one I think would be pretty decent to try to use it on. I don't know how much it used to be used in the past with the Griffin. If you put supercharged Molots on a Griffin, I think you could get some decent support fire out of there. You definitely want to try to get in the way of anybody shooting too bad, because you probably wouldn't last very long unless you made it really tanky. So either you could go the route of making it tankier to last longer to sort for it, or you put more damage on it. Either one of those could, you know, help use that as a decent support damage bot. What would make it, what would be even better than the Griffin, of course, would be the Raven, simply because you have that extra jump, so you can get a little bit more maneuverability out of using an old weapon like the Molots. All right, what's next? All right, especially speaking of support bots, where is it? Next one I would think would be the Molots would be half decent on if you knew what you were doing is a Mender, because you are running around healing, and it wouldn't hurt if you're able to get a decent amount of mid-range support damage on some enemies. Yeah. One that I would be more excited to use, even though it is fairly weaker, a lot weaker than the Mender, is the Tier. Simply because it's set up, you would have, you know, 2 Molots and then 2 Molot T's set up on that. But if you were to supercharge it, I think you could get at least, it would be fun to run. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's going to be very powerful, especially in today's meta, but I just think it would be fun. Next, what might be interesting is if you were to supercharge them. I know I keep saying supercharge, but still, you kind of have to do it in nowadays meta. I think if you were to run them on the Siren, so like a Molot and then 2 Tempest on a Siren, if you were to make that, if you were to supercharge that, and to try to use those when you go up in your ability, to shoot them with a couple Tempest and a Molot, that might be pretty decent. Decent, I say. Very generously. I think it'll be fairly fun. You know, I just like Tempest in general, so anything that can run Tempest somewhat effectively, I feel it's a fun setup. Now, you could also argue that you could ride them. You could also argue that you could run them on the Typhon, but I feel like the Typhon is a bot that nowadays is like I know the Typhon can be made powerful, but nowadays I feel like the Typhon definitely needs to be able to run like. Oh wait, hold on. I did it again. That's media weapons. Never mind. All right, what was the next? Invader. I can't actually remember why I circled an invader. I think only because you could get they wouldn't be as powerful as Punishers, but they would be fair. I don't know. I think you could maybe get some decent firepower of that, just because you do have, you know, 2 lights and a medium, so maybe you could try to get some decent firepower out of that. I don't think you would use it for brawling as much, or you wouldn't. I don't know, because Invader kind of is built for brawling. It's not really meant for top or support damage because it's hard to maneuver that type of bot with support weapons. However, they probably would work maybe maybe a little bit better on the blitz. I say, because you have 4 and you can kind of run just a little bit fast. You can run a whole heck of a lot faster with a blitz back and forth between cover than you can invader. So that would probably a little bit, that would be better than using invader. But I think both of them would be fairly fun. Next would be Hades. So 2 Molots and a Tempest on a Hades, I think would be fairly fun. Probably wouldn't be all that powerful, which kind of sucks because technically Hades is, it's got a golden halo on the bottom of it. So it literally means it's a tier 4 bot, but nowadays it's not really that powerful. I can kick, Hades butt just with Desters and Cossacks. Now I don't know because that thing has been nerfed. Because that bot has been nerfed, but like usually, I don't really have that much problem with fighting Hades. It's also because you don't really see them that often, but at the same time, they're not. I wouldn't call Hades a very powerful bot to begin with, but I think you'd be able to get a decent amount of support fire with Molots. What's next? Next would be another fun one. Oh wait, never mind. Okay, I'm about to say a different one. Ares, same difference. You would have even more firepower on that one, obviously, so you'd have maybe about the same, I guess. You'd have 2 mediums and 2 lights made Molots. Support damage, obviously you definitely want to make sure you use the most out of your purple shield, your purple shield, in order to do most of your damage. But I think it'd be fun. Maybe probably about on the same level as how much fun it would be to run Punishers on him. Alright, next is the one I was just about to tell you before the Ares, is the Hawk. Throw a couple Tempests on there, a couple Molots. I think it would be fairly fun if you supercharged it, because when you go into your ability, obviously Hawk can take damage, but that reflector is going to reflect a decent amount of the damage. So if you make it, somewhat tanky, you should be able to get a decent amount of usage on the Molots when you go into the air. Next one that I think would be fairly fun, decent to use as a support bot or support range. Yeah, the Khepri, how you want to pronounce it. Just because you have 4 light, Molots on there. I think and the Khepri can be fairly fast if you put, if you have it in the right skills, I guess. So yeah, I feel like that would be pretty fun. Especially, like I said, if you make it pretty tanky, you won't have to really worry about getting shot too bad. I have several Khepris myself already that I haven't even used. I'll use them eventually. But yeah, I think that would be pretty fun. Only a couple more are actually left. So the Nether, I think it'd be interesting. I think most people are using the Nether as more of a brawly bot than anything else. But so people run like spears on them, which to me, I think a spear seems more like it would be a support weapon, more like a mid-range weapon than it is a brawling weapon. But people do whatever they do. The spear is getting nerfed, so maybe there'll be less people using it. But like I was trying to talk about mods. I think you could get a decent amount of, because you do have so many dashes, you could get pretty much in and out of cover fairly fast in order if you wanted to use that as a support shooter. And then the last one, of course, would be not even in the store, be a Golem. So you could run, one of each on a Golem. I think that would be fairly fun. I don't know how it's not going to perform that well, but in terms of fun, I think it'd be fairly fun. Even though you're not really going to be able to, uh, if someone comes up on you, is right next to you, you're going to be kind of boned. But I think golems. I don't know why they removed them from the store, but I think golems are just fun in general to run because you get the novelty of being able to run one of each. Which the only other bot I can think of that has one of each hardpoint is the Skyros, and that's the only one. So yeah, Molots. I think they're fairly fun. Old school weapon to use. If you want to. Most people nowadays aren't going to use them unless they've probably just started the game or they just really, really like them, I guess. But to me, I think Molots are still pretty fun. Yeah, so that's going to wrap up this video. Underdog. Ow!